Hey there, all you cool cats and all you kittens. It's Uncle Matt here. The Disney Tournament Challenge continues today. We are on to the second round. If you missed the first round, we split that into two different videos. I'll throw a link somewhere out there in the world to that so that you can get caught up if you missed those. Also, if you want to fill out your own bracket and follow along, there will be a link down below to allears.net who created this bracket, so go give them a look, print yours up, fill it out, follow along, we'll have fun. Let's get the second round started now. Our first matchup of the second round sees the Country Bears Jamboree go head-to-head with the Haunted Mansion. Two excellent Magic Kingdom attractions, all-time classics, beloved attractions. It's a tough matchup. You know, Country Bears Jamboree, I didn't talk a lot about it in the last round because it kind of got a default win over Rise of the Resistance. But it's a great show. It's another one of those where it so much seems like it would be a kid's attraction, but, you know, I think I like it better now as an adult than I did as a kid because there are a lot of jokes, there are a lot of songs that are definitely meant more for a adult audience than a child audience, and you know, those probably went over my head when I was a little young Matt, peeing my pants on Indiana Jones. But unfortunately for it, it's going up against Haunted Mansion, which is unquestionably one of the all-time greatest Disney rides. You know, just so many innovative elements to it, the animatronics, the special effects like Pepper's Ghost. It's not a fair matchup for Country Bears Jamboree, as good as it is. It can't hold a candle to the Haunted Mansion. Haunted Mansion continues on into the next round of the tournament. Our next matchup here in the second round, we've got Tom Sawyer's Island against Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, as I mentioned in the first round, I don't particularly have an affinity for Tom Sawyer's Island. It had a pretty easy first round matchup. That's why it got here. On the other hand, Pirates of the Caribbean, another one of those classic all-time great Disney rides. You know, people will debate, was it better before or after the elements were added from the movie franchise? I think most people would say before, but I don't think they hurt it. Some people think they hurt it and bring the ride down. I'm not a person who feels that way. I still enjoy it every time I get on it. It's got a lot of great animatronics, great jokes, great fun, great ride. Pirates of the Caribbean goes on to the next round. Our next matchup sees Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run go head-to-head with Walt Disney's Carousel Progress. Now, this is a tough matchup, you know. Smugglers Run, brand new ride, got some really innovative things to it. But, you know, Carousel of Progress, it really feels like, you know, it's one of those rides that's just still Walt being in the park because it's, you know, it's been adapted, it's been updated, it's been changed, but ultimately it was kind of one of Walt's first attractions. You know, he took it to the World's Fair, he designed it, he brought it into the parks from there, and it's just kind of at the core of Disney. It comes from Walt himself. That's why I have such a hard time going against it, but the experience I got when I finally got to ride Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run, when I went through the queue, saw all the crazy stuff that was in there, but the real one that puts it over the top is when you actually step into the, you know, bay of the Millennium Falcon and it looks like what you've been seeing in the movies for so many years. You're really on the Millennium Falcon. It's like almost like a breathtaking moment. And then when you get into the cockpit and actually take part in an adventure on the Millennium Falcon. When I did it, I got stuck being an engineer, which is the worst position by all accounts to be. All you do is sit there and you push a little button when it lights up on the side. You know, everybody says you gotta be a pilot. Gunner's fun too, but I got stuck being an engineer because I was a single rider and they always stick the single riders with the crap spot. But the overall attraction, you know, from the minute you get in line for it is incredible. Big fan of it. Hate to do it to the Carousel of Progress, but Smugglers Run goes on to the next round. Our next matchup, we've got It's Tough to Be a Bug against the Tower of Terror. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. I talked a lot about It's a Bug's Life in the last round. Great show. Definitely check it out if you're in Animal Kingdom. But Tower of Terror, it's one of those rides that's just on another level from a lot of the others. It's going to be tough to find somebody that could possibly beat the Tower of Terror, but it's not going to happen here. It's a Bug Life goes home. Tower of Terror goes on. Our next matchup, we have the Festival of the Lion King versus Space Mountain. Now, you know, like I said in the last round, Festival of the Lion King, great show. You know, gets you out of the extra 30-degree heat you experience in Animal Kingdom for whatever reason. But Space Mountain is just so much fun. It's just a great roller coaster. I've always been a fan of indoor roller coasters ever since, you know, if you like me, fellow Nashvillians, we had a great one here called Chaos. And there's something about an indoor roller coaster that just feels more dangerous. Like, they just feel a little scarier for some reason. And Space Mountain feels that way. It's like it combines being on an old roller coaster with being on an indoor roller coaster. And so, as thrilling as roller coasters are to begin with, when you're on Space Mountain, for whatever reason, you also feel a little bit more like you might die. And that gives it a little bit more fun. Anytime you think you could actually die on a ride, you're going to be a little bit more excited, a little bit more thrilled. So I don't feel like I'm going to die when I see It's Festival of Lion King. So unfortunately for that reason, Space Mountain advances to the next round. Next up, we have our first really tough matchup of the second round. We've got Slinky Dog Dash versus Dinosaur. This is a tough one for me. I've gotten to ride Slinky Dog Dash in my recent trips there. It's really fun. I think it's kind of the perfect roller coaster for families because it's enough that it's going to be fun for adults because it's got, launches. They're not like the full kind of launches like you get on Rock and Roller Coaster or Incredible Hulk or Everest, but it's enough launch to make it a little bit thrilling, a little bit fun. It's got some high hills, some fun little loops, but it's not going to be scary for kids. So it's a really great roller coaster for families. But I keep going back to the fact that, to me, Dinosaur is just great. And it's so underrated. I really am a big fan of Dinosaur. And I think, really, if they cleaned it up, if they refurbed it a little bit, it could be one of not only the most underrated rides in the park, it could be one of the top rides in the park, period. I mean, it's the same ride system, the same basic ride as the Indiana Jones Adventure in Disneyland, which a lot of people say is the best ride in the parks out there. So, I mean, if you've already got what's the best ride in another park in your park, give it a little love, shine it up a little bit, get it to that next level that it can get to. But I think even not quite being at that level, I think, it's tough. In a matchup like this, I have to think which ride would I prefer to ride. If they were side by side and you said, Matt, you can only ride one, the other one's going to be closed by the time you get off, which one would you ride? I think I'd go Dinosaur here. It's tough. It's not an easy decision for me, but I'm going to go with my gut and say Dinosaur. So on to the next round goes Dinosaur. Our next matchup is Journey into Imagination against Spaceship Earth. Now, this is an interesting dynamic for these two to come up against each other because they're kind of two of the signature attractions of Epcot. They're ones that just come right to mind whenever you're talking about that park. It's tough to kind of say which one's better. I think it would be a lot tougher if it was the old Journey into Imagination, though. Spaceship Earth has maintained its greatness. They've kind of updated it over the years. It's scheduled for a new update, but who knows with everything that's going on when or if that'll still happen. But it's tough. But another tough second round matchup. It's getting tougher round by round, but I have to go with Spaceship Earth in this round. The big golf ball rolls on to the next round. All right, so after a couple of tougher matchups here in the second round, we have one that I feel is a little bit easier to kind of decide between. I mentioned in the last round, I do enjoy Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. It's a fun game. It's almost like kind of a video game come to life. But, it can't hold a candle to the Enchanted Tiki Room. Just the history, the innovation of what it was at the time. The show is still fun and entertaining to see. It's, something I always catch. Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin is one that I might skip if I just really didn't have time and wanted to do something different. And ultimately, it's just there. It's a fun ride. It's a great experience, but Tiki Room's Tiki Room. It's one of the OGs. So in this case, an OG gets the win. Tiki Room on to the next round. Next up, our next matchup is the Jungle Cruise against Expedition Everest. I hate to put the Jungle Cruise out here. I really do, because it's really grown on me. It's become one of my favorite attractions in my recent trips down there, but Everest is just next level. It's a roller coaster with so many fun twists and turns and excitement. The Jungle Cruise is funny. It's got some good jokes, but I'm always going to almost always pick the thrill ride over the kind of fun, funny boat ride. Maybe if they made The Rock permanently have to live there and be the all-time skipper, maybe that would help Jungle Cruise. It might not, because that movie keeps getting delayed, but who knows, Rock, if you're watching, give it a shot. Couldn't hurt, But Expedition Everest, on to the next round. Next up, we've got another pretty straightforward, easy matchup. We've got Astro Orbiter versus Big Thunder Mountain. Astro pretty much got through on a joke from the last round, so it doesn't really have much of a chance against Pink Thunder in this round. Wildest Ride in the Wilderness goes on to the next round. For our next matchup, we have Toy Story Mania against the People Mover. I went back and forth on this one a whole lot because I enjoyed both attractions immensely. As I mentioned, the People Mover is kind of the perfect relaxing ride. You know, a lot of people like to go to shows when they need a break. A lot of people like to do other things like that. But the People Mover is great because you feel like you're still doing something, you're still getting an experience, but you're actually getting a chance to kick back and relax for a little bit and kind of go into recovery mode for a bit. But in terms of pure fun, pure attraction, I gotta side with Toy Story Mania on this one. It's fun. It's got all fun little gags, got some cool animatronics in different parts of it. It's a tough one, but yeah, I gotta go with Toy Story Mania on this one. On to the next round. Our next matchup is an unfortunate one. I ranted and I raved about Grand Fiesta Tour in the last round. It's a fun ride, one of my new favorites, but Splash Mountain. Maybe if you put this drop into Grand Fiesta Tour, you might have the all-time greatest ride ever. Imagineers, if any of y'all are watching this, that one's a freebie. I'm not going to charge you for it. But since this drop is only in this ride and not in this one goes through the next round. Splash Mountain, congratulations. Next up, we've got the Rock and Roller Coaster against Flight of Passage, a very tough second round matchup. You know, at least most people would say that. So one thing I've noticed as I go through and I watch my videos and I edit them, I talk a little too fast. It makes it hard to edit the videos because sometimes I hit a spot where I should have hit a break, I should have hit a cut, but I'm talking through it, so I can't really cut it, or it cuts off in mid-word. So I've been trying to practice talking slower. I've been trying to think about some examples of people that do a really good job of that. And one that I always keep thinking about when I'm talking about this, about one person filling time, talking. I think of Jim Rome. You know, he does 3-hour radio shows and he fills the time mostly by taking long breaks in between the things he says. And he's kind of known for having some controversial takes from time to time. And I think one of his smarter gimmicks is the more controversial the take he has, the longer the pause he takes after saying it. So, using my Jim Rome inspiration to decide Rock and Roller Coaster versus Flight of Passage, I have to say, Flight of Passage, overrated. Flight of Passage is just sci-fi Sauron. Rock and Roller Coaster goes to the next round. Now we'll throw it to my interview with Chris Everett. Our next matchup, we have Mission Space against Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. It's probably a tougher matchup for me than it would be for a lot of people because, like I said, Mission Space doesn't affect me the way it affects a lot of people who have issues with motion sickness. I'm perfectly fine riding it. I actually have enjoyed it when I've been able to experience it, but as I mentioned in the previous round, I haven't got to experience it that many times because most of the times that I've been, the people I'm with are people who do not want to experience it. But I'm going to go with Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, though. I think it's a really great addition to Magic Kingdom. It's kind of the perfect ride that Magic Kingdom needed. You know, a kind of fun family roller coaster that's not stupid and simple like Barnstormer. So, you know, it added a new element that Magic Kingdom really needed. It's in a pretty good spot, you know, spiced up Fantasyland just a little bit from being all dark rides. So overall, it's a great addition to the parks and has really made a big impact in my opinion. And for that reason, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is advancing to the next round. Our next matchup features Primeval Whirl against Soarin'. Now, you know, I talked in the last round that I'm probably a bigger fan of Primeval Whirl than a lot of people. There's a part of me that really wants to put it through here and put Soarin' out, but once again, I think Soarin's just overall the better attraction. Primeval Whirl is fun for what it is, but Soarin' just feels like one of those new age Disney attractions that just deserves a little more credit, and it's fun. I kind of wish, you know, they would kind of do what Star Wars has kind of done and kind of add the different films, because they have Soarin' over California and Soarin' around the world. I don't know exactly how challenging it would be, but maybe kind of add a third, maybe a fourth version of Soarin' and just kind of rotate them in, so every time you go on it, maybe you get a different experience. Also, maybe take some lessons from what they did with Flight of Passage, since that's basically just Soarin'. I mean, real talk here. Flight of Passage is just Soarin' with a few more interactive elements, but do that with Soarin', you know, make it a little bit more interactive. Maybe when you go over the ocean, splash some water in people's faces. When you go, I don't know, maybe there's a fire and you get a little feel of heat on you. I don't know. There's some things you could do to really tweak Soarin', to really update it and take it to another level. But I think it's already pretty good as it is. Once again, Imagineering. For now, all these suggestions are free if you're watching. If you want more, I'm going to hold a few back, but Soarin' is going to go on to the next round. Or is it? Okay, yeah, it is. Yep, Soarin' goes on to the next round. Now we're on to our final second round matchup. We have Muppet Vision 3D against Test Track. I talked a lot about both these in the last round. Test Track is the perfect ride for Epcot when it came out. They needed a thrill ride. But Muppet Vision 3D is ultimately one of my favorite attractions. I just love it. I just can't help it. I've always loved the Muppets. The show's great. It has so many great jokes. I laugh every time I think about Sam the Eagle popping his head out, Kermit saying, "How's this indie number going?" And Sam pops up and says, "It's a glorious 3.5 celebration of America, 3.5 hour celebration of America." And Kermit goes, "You got 3 minutes." And Sam freaks out. I'm not laughing about it now because I didn't deliver it very well, but in the context of the show, it's one of my all-time favorite gags, jokes, and there's just so many more throughout the thing. And favorite of it, surprised to have a show going over a thrill ride. That's not going to happen often in this tournament, but in this case it is. Muppet Vision 3D is on to the next round. All right, that does it for the second round. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty. In our next episode, we will go through the Sweet 16. Only 16 attractions left, vying for the right to be declared Matt Green's favorite Disney World attraction. As always, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you don't miss any episodes, especially episodes like this where they're going in a sequence and you'll be confused if you miss one. Give me a thumbs up because I know you like this video. Everybody was telling me how great the last ones were. They were calling me up saying, "Matt, do this some more, do this some more. We love this. This is the best thing you've ever done. I can't believe how awesome it is." So, but just like it, that way I get that extra affirmation. And once again, if there's any disagreements we have, if you think I messed up the tournament somewhere, that's what the comments are for. Let me know down there. I'll tell you why I was right and you were wrong, but it'll be fun to have a discussion about it. But until next time, don't stand so close to